with it, we start talking about sex and fertility with transgenderism. And is it more difficult for a trans person to find a boyfriend, a girlfriend, or a partner compared to a cisgender person?
Wow. I'd say yes. I've been involved in relationships in my lifetime, and I never had any problem getting a date as Michael. It's not so easy now, being a trans woman and finding a date. I put myself into a whole different category now. Um, so in my experience, and I'm not saying that there's ironclad research out there to put it all together, but in my view, it's like I see a lot more female to male relationships with cisgender girls than the opposite, a transgender woman with a cisgendered male. That phenomenon it certainly exists, but I've got to say it's probably a little bit more difficult in the dating field being a trans woman than a trans male, because a lot of trans brothers out there transition beautifully into males, and it does, it causes the beard growth, the mustache, the perhaps to hair loss. It will happen. It could happen. I've seen a lot of cases, but the physique changes, gets fuller, gets more musculature. It's so that transition in a lot of cases works well for the trans man in getting dates, whereas people like me who'd gone through the puberty and the maleness and everything, now we got facial hair to deal with. Not me so much anymore, um, or forever for that matter. I never had the battle of the facial hair, but there are those that do. They have to go get electrolysis before they can look smooth and whatnot. It's just it's a process, and everybody has a different experience. But even for somebody who never had a problem, getting the girl, as Michael, I just do not find it to be as easy as Mikaela and finding that perfect mate.
I mean, one of the things we talk about in relationships is sex. And um, I know this is a delicate topic for some in our audience, so there's going to be a trigger warning here. But um, with it, we know that some of the side effects from cross sex hormones make it easier for the vaginal wall of the transgender males to get a sexually transmitted infection. Another possible side effect is the lowered sexual desire in general.
Yeah.
Um, so it has a lot of trans people wondering, especially in our comments, who don't really have the resources for this. Um, if they start puberty blockers or cross-sex hormones, is that always the case, or is it more difficult to have sex as a trans person?
Well, very good question. I've got to say, in a lot of cases that I've studied, and certainly in my own case, sex drive, libido, as it were, wiped out. I'm about at that level of a cisgender woman who doesn't have that much testosterone, whose sex drive is just about zero. As a male, yeah, I thought about it a lot. I thought about sex a lot. Now, having 4 years into cross-sex hormones, and of course still the testosterone blockers, there are months that I go without even thinking of sex. So yeah, be prepared. Your sex drive, your libido will substantially decrease. Functionability, it depends on your partner. You could pretty much still have sex. If you still have your male parts, they will work to a certain degree. I've got to tell you, and again, like Matt said, it could be a trigger warning, or it could be maybe I'm stepping out of bounds, but the production of sperm and male secretion ceases to exist. It doesn't happen anymore. For me, it's more of an internal, full female explosion that occurs in my body within. Uh, it does. It makes some changes in your life. Um, and I'm sure with the female to male, cross sex hormones, it does the opposite, probably bolsters that sex drive and probably makes you want to have sex more and more. As somebody who stood on that side of the fence, I know how that feels. But it's comforting for me to know that I'm at that level now of a natal woman, and that's what I chose to be. That's the fallout and the ramifications that I deal with on a day-to-day basis. I'm okay with that. I chose it. That's what I wanted.
So you're saying that risk of a lowered sex drive is worth it because every day you get to live your true self now, basically.
Yes.
I'm trying to summarize those beautiful words that you've already. We mentioned it earlier in the episode, but if someone wants to have a biological child one day, at what age can they start preserving their fertile cells or reproductive cells?
Well, we all develop differently. If you ever recall, seeing some girls in middle school that have developed, far beyond those of others. We all develop differently. So I can't really answer that question intelligently. I don't know what that age would be. I would think that once you've crossed that point in your life of your puberty, and let's say you have that first nocturnal emission, I think you're then at that point, 13, 14 years old. If you're absolutely certain that you are going to be headed toward the cross-sex hormones, I would question. I would get the answers from a doctor's, like, can I, store my sperm for future, application. I may meet somebody who I would have a child with, a natural born child. You could do that. The puberty blockers, once you go off of them, puberty blockers or hormone blockers, once you go off of them, probably about a good 3 to 4, maybe 6 months tops, you'll be able to produce sperm again, that you can reproduce once again. So that is totally reversible. But again, like I said, with cross-sex hormones, once you start those, you cross over that 6 to 8 month threshold.
Yeah, there's that time period.
Over. Yeah.
And certainly that's something you want to talk to your doctors about. And
yes. I'm not a doctor. I don't know that. Absolutely. I don't know when it will happen for you, but
that's just something that came through our comment section. I'm like, I'll ask it,
Sure.
But I mean, with it, I know there's a lot of trans people that don't necessarily want to reproduce with those cells because that's not their true gender then. And it's just a personal decision that you make.
Yes. We're all different.
Still not enough rainbows? Click here to see more weekly episodes of Powered by Rainbows, Semester 4, only on MHP TV.